Well, today marks the completion of a 14-year project to clean up our rivers. The Dig Indy Tunnel System is one of the largest civil infrastructure projects in the history of Indianapolis, and it's designed to capture and treat sewer overflow to keep it from going into local waterways. Now, back in June, we toured the tunnel system more than 250 feet below the Earth's surface. Today, our Logan Gay returned as they finally cut the ribbon.
After more than a decade and $2 billion later, the Dig Indy Tunnel System is finally complete.
I have been directly involved every day on this project for the last 12 years. And to see it come to fruition it's almost not real yet.
The tunnel system is essentially a big storage tank hundreds of feet beneath the city, collecting more than 250 million gallons of overflow each time it rains.
When it rains, the sewage that would have otherwise gone into the White River, Fall Creek, and many of our other tributaries will now go into our storage tunnel, where we will collect it and then we will treat it at one of our wastewater treatment plants and then release it safely to the environment.
Michael Miller with Citizens Energy Group says this not only marks the fulfillment of a legal order with the city, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the Department of Justice to clean up the city, but the owner of Frank's Paddle Sports Library, Peter Bloomquist, says it also supports the community mission to make Indy a river city.
You can see already in our area, which has been done since 2022, a visual difference. Mink returned to the river in 2017. We now have otters in Marion County.
But Bloomquist says this ribbon cutting is not the end of the mission. It's just the beginning.
It's a call to action for all of us to continue this effort, to make sure that we create equitable access for all neighborhoods, all residents of Indianapolis, and visitors too.
Because water is life. In Indianapolis, Logan Gay, 13 News.
Tonight in Putnam County, a mother is safe, found in the woods near her home a week after she disappeared. But questions remain about how long she was there and why. It's a story we first brought you last night as breaking news. The Putnam County Sheriff says they found Brittany Gard at Hallwoods Nature Preserve, just a couple of miles from her Bainbridge home. We now know she called 911 saying she needed help. Her whereabouts sparked a search last week. Gard was last heard from on September 30th. The next day, her home was on fire. Investigators calling that suspicious. And in this small community, neighbors say this case was surprising.
It's peaceful, it's quiet. You don't worry too much. You always worry about your kids, but but we just don't hear, of things out here like that. Yeah, it's very unusual.
The Putnam County Sheriff says they're not looking for any people of interest and there is no threat to anyone. Their investigation continues. And right now, the state's preparing to execute another death row inmate. Roy Ward is set to die before sunrise tomorrow morning at the state prison in Michigan City. Ward's execution marks the second in Indiana this year and third since the state resumed the death penalty last year. His legal team argued for clemency, questioning the method of execution used in the state. Ward's been on death row for more than 2 decades for the rape and murder of this young girl. This is 15-year-old Stacy Payne, and she was murdered back in 2001.
Well, our temperatures continue to drop. We're now down into the 50s for some of you and 40s for others. Look at the 41 showing up for Muncie. We're about 2 degrees cooler at this hour than where we were yesterday at this time. So some locations have gotten already much cooler than where they were, and that's just the beginning. There are a few spots that are 6 or 7 degrees cooler than where they were yesterday at this time. I'll still keep 41 on a graphic here for our overnight temperature. That's for the city. It will remain the cool spot, but I think the temperatures are certainly going to get much colder in some of the outlying areas. 30s likely for many of you. I think we're actually going to get a little bit cooler than what you see even on this map. That means a little patchy frost is possible, and frost advisories remain in place. Essentially, Interstate 70 and points to the north from Terre Haute to Indy to Richmond. Patchy frost is possible, but we've got a warm up on the way. Temperatures back in the 70s. I'll tell you when. Coming up.
All right, thanks, Rob. And tonight, the terms of a Gaza ceasefire deal are in effect. According to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office, his cabinet approved the outline of a deal. So here's what's in that plan. The release of all hostages held in Gaza, Israeli military withdrawal to an agreed point, and the release of some Palestinian prisoners. There is uncertainty about some parts of the plan, including whether and how Hamas will disarm and who will govern Gaza. The United States is sending 200 troops to the Middle East to monitor implementation of the plan. And tonight, Hoosiers are celebrating this deal and the chance for an end to this conflict. It's been 2 years of war, and Miriam Dant with the Jewish Federation Greater Indianapolis, the Jewish Federation of Greater Indianapolis, says the ceasefire makes her feel hopeful for the first time since it started. She says the community mourned and prayed for hostages and victims.
It will be wonderful, hopefully in the next few days, to be able to celebrate their homecoming and the ceasefire and an opportunity to just return to a peaceful time and rebuild.
Now, we also heard from Indiana lawmakers. Democratic Congressman Andre Carson says he wants this to be a lasting peace deal, including a surge of humanitarian aid and a two-state solution. In a statement, Republican Senator Todd Young tells 13 News the successful negotiation of a Gaza peace plan is a major diplomatic accomplishment and potentially a historic breakthrough. I am grateful for their work in pursuit of peace in the Middle East, and we pray that this agreement holds. Well, tonight, an Indianapolis rehab program for men just out of prison is running out of money. Without new funding, several residents could lose housing and supervision. Alex Almanza joins us to explain what that means for public safety and second chances. Good evening, Alex.
Hey there, when people finish their sentence, the next step can be the hardest, re-entering a society that isn't always ready to take them back. But one program says that gap is where they step in. But in less than an hour, when the clock strikes midnight, time and money run out.
This small Indianapolis home has served as a bridge between incarceration and independence. It's one of several houses run by KBDV Inc., a nonprofit that helps men coming out of prison, including those on the sex offender registry, find housing, jobs, and stability.
We redirect, support, and encourage those who's returning home from prison. We just recently started offering housing.
Dominique Harris says her mission is to reduce recidivism by focusing on counseling, community, and compassion.
But that word really means something. Recidivism is when someone returns to prison. We want to reduce that. And the way we reduce that is by giving them resources.
That mission is now at risk. Harris says the program's funding came through the Department of Corrections RSAT grant, a state program that helps pay for sober and reentry housing. She says it's part of a larger funding shortage across Marion County that's forcing some reentry and sobriety programs to scale back or shut down completely.
The first thing I thought about is how this is going to affect my guys. I was actually calling around looking for additional support and funding, and everyone is out of funding. Everyone is around here scrambling.
One of her residents told 13 News that without this home, he'd likely be homeless or back behind bars. After decades of cycling through the prison system, he says this program has been the only thing keeping him steady and sober. Harris fears what could happen if those supports vanish overnight.
My location is approved for sex offenders, releasing them back into the community without resources. Like I said, what do you think they're going to do?
For now, Harris says she hopes funding returns, but there are no guarantees on when or if it does.
Dominique tells me she's not the only one. 14 other organizations have also been impacted by sudden funding shortages, which she just learned will end tomorrow. 13 News has also reached out to the Indiana Department of Correction. We'll let you know when we hear back.